will help justice prevail. In 3, 2, 1. I don't care about if they hate me after I uncover the truth. The world needs a hope of sunshine, and the moment shall be mine. In these troublesome times. This is Troublesome Times. Unscripted, unedited, all done in one take. Because it's so easy, right? Since everyone else has a podcast, I might as well have one too. And I guess I'm going to start talking in these podcasts in my normal voice because I think it shows like a huge compare and contrast between the person behind the character that the culture vultures believe that it is a positive tribute to a heart, like gag me with a spoon. I'm very southern, but I sound pretty valley girl, like too much for my own good. So yeah, culture vultures. These are the specific community along the online sphere where they will just hop on any trend and sensationalize the loving life out of it. If you know, you know. And the funny thing is that I had another recording the podcast that was over an hour long, but I don't know if it would be worth an hour of listening to. So yeah. The culture vultures and I clash like crazy. And if I was in cahoots with any of those culture vultures, there'd be like so much that they'd love to find out what I know. And what they wouldn't tell you is that in the last day of normality, May 24th, 2020, prior to that, no, shortly after that, and I cut ties with them because I noticed they spread a lot of hateful agendas, low-key behind the scenes, and then they sit on info and they cover up for a lot of things. So you got to be careful who you speak out to, who you reach out to, or extend olive branch, or whatever with. So I know I that was actually going to be saved for last, but it's actually very crazy how personal they take things with me. And I guess I'll address it right now because I was like in hysterics in the last recording too. That's what happens when you decide to get back in a regular fitness routine and then tucker yourself out. And I guess the reason I'm starting to do that now, I always did do was always into fitness in some sort of way. It's been pretty on and off. And when I was actually had my knees bruised, and this was x-rayed too. That finally, because I was in a bad place with someone. I hardly like to talk about anything personal. The last thing that happened, it felt like metaphorically, the opening scene of Kill Bill. And it ended up with my knees x-rayed and bruised and all that, and it left me very, very depressed. So one of the things I did around almost a year ago now, I wanted to get back into that, really got into that in November, and now I think I'm doing fine. And I don't know, I always find to turn everything into like a mini workout in some way, and that's actually going to be very fun because I'm trying to transition more like in little theatrical kind of ways where I know like the characters, it's still like a cartoon pipe dream. Like my first vision, like I love animation like crazy. I'm all over that. It's like my number one personality, hobby, and interest. Like if anyone knows me, real life, online, whatever. Yeah, and then that's the thing about the culture vultures is that animation is always something I wanted to do. And so I just pivoted to it now, but I guess I'm like that 90s kid where I do like a little group where the 80s kids, 90s kids, and 2000s, they all react. I'm the 90s kid. That's an example of how we love animation and we will, so most likely we'll be a little bit talented at everything else, and then we'll just be like, oh, show flexing our knowledge of animation, and then like for the 80s kids, it's kind of like a gotcha, kind of like a bombshell of animation. And it kept happening so many times. So many people were surprised at how much they loved and admired new animation. And I'm thinking, that it can't be out of nowhere. So it's got to be hard, right? The stigma. Like, I initially thought that it would be the other way around, that when we would try to make animation more like trying to find the foundation and the history behind animation, that, you know, the 80s kids would be least excited, the 90s kids, me, most excited because it's me, and then the 2000s would be taken up to 11 with the excitement, yay. Turns out it was the opposite. The 2000 kids were like, oh, this shit is meant to be. And then me, of course, most excited. Yay. I got a balance of both. And then the 80s kids were actually the most excited. And they're suddenly like, look how much I'm into it too. I can just imagine they were all like having like their own little party to themselves. Their party of one about like... embracing their inner child and giving their inner child closure. Oh my god, this is already starting off better than before. So, yeah, so doing a little fitness work. It's going to be very interesting what kind of little skits we have. I guess that's what I get for ending up doing like an anyone can series. Anyone can sing, anyone can dance, anyone can act. And it's kind of weird because this is the fun part. Like, originally it was going to be like little like guest and that's featured in the videos, but somehow somehow there was like actually one that stood out the most. And it was weird because I remembered, I guess I would have to say now, what would be my best video? I'd say like anyone can act. I'd say that was the video where I had to step up everything, especially the acting. I did all the acting. I did all the editing. I did all right. I did some screen recording because a lot of the stuff that was featured was not like archived or anything, or however you say that word, archived, whatever. So, and it was all right. Here's the thing, like a lot of these like review videos is like there is, I guess like for those who are new to the watching my material, is that, you know, I make it so, here's the thing, I personally am not one of those people who would like something that's episodic, like a status quo kind of thing. I am one of those. So for me, like as a writer, since I take so long in writing, it's like a Chekhov's gun, or however you say that. Basically, that means every detail matters. So pretty much everything you'll see will be pretty important, and that was the whole lore. I think with that lore, like it actually gives something about like what's gonna happen next, and I will go on more definitely for sure in August, because if I go into more detail about it, let's just say I know for a fact as soon as anyone can announce, like pretty much. For some reason, I got the sense people were so excited about it. And I'd have to say, like, for that, I guess what really was pretty... Because it pretty much shows that me, as a character, like, just, like, watching all of these movies that are created by YouTubers at the time that tried to, like, break into the mainstream. And I was definitely one of those. I was like hesitant because it was like, it felt like it was overdone. And then of course, you know, if I had to do the ending, but if I had to spoil it, then there's no point in watching it. But I do remember like when it was weird, because I think the most poignant line is that right up to that part is where, because most of it was gonna be like, you know, improvised or ad-libbed, but the stuff that mattered ended up having to be scripted. That's like, I think in the last 5 minutes of that. And I I just have to say, I hope with that in mind, it just it doesn't matter what anyone really says, and that you just enjoy whatever you want to enjoy. And I still, there's a lot of guilty pleasures I do have, none of them featured. What, by the way? Oh boy, yeah. I know that there was pretty. I get the sense there's like a strong reaction, and here's the weird part. Like, I know that whenever it is weird, right? Like, there's things you should like do a sneak peek of, but there's things that are so important because, like I say, when people like watch your stuff, it can make and break whatever you have. And I felt like every single thing was pretty important, like everyone involved, and it's just weird. I don't. It's just. I guess the best way to describe it is it was a pretty hard risk having to go in the direction that I did, because if I did somebody more likable like Markiplier, who probably is one of my favorite YouTubers around, or I did somebody more popular like, I don't know, Critical, or who else is popular. I'm getting a maybe I'm just gotta keep up somebody that is basically more approachable, I'd say. I think it would just kind of it wouldn't have you thinking until like you eventually hear, if so you really are just showing like people who do this sort of thing. I will say for sure, I could go on and on about why this poignant line was very important, but that would really, really, really just, I think it would just give too much energy to the wrong kind of people who deserve that wrong credit. And I know well, don't mind her, just having a life without me. So anyway, I believe that, in a lot of ways, it's kind of interesting because I noticed something and I'm thinking to myself, like over the past year and a half or two, it seemed like every single thing that occurred, it was just, it got pretty, I was thinking to myself, wow, how can, like, anyone can deal with this kind of constant like basically witch hunting, I'd say, no matter like how your feelings towards it. It's like facts don't care about your feelings or something like that. Or I would say like, I would say it's more like, hype doesn't care about your facts or something like that. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird. And then weirdly enough, lately it seems like that has died down for some reason. I thought I was maybe getting it, just I'm like, and I thought maybe I should just step away. Maybe I did my part and whatever, right? But I'd have to say that I guess it's really because maybe I was right the first time when I realized maybe you are cut out for this completely on your own. And I guess like you're probably wondering, why don't I just say names? It seems like every time I do, it's always like people already have their minds made up, and it's not just like anyone in particular. It is anyone that I have mentioned explicitly by name, and like just anyone, and then people have been like, they connect the dots, and at least when guys are doing that kind of roasting or whatever, not at least you'd have to figure it out. Something that means you spent the time and energy to figure out what it is. And that's what I kind of like about, I guess, our frosties, is that we I don't treat you guys like goldfish. Like, it gets you guys like pretty invested in the energy. It's got to be cool, like, right? Anything you say can, anything what your hot takes can become canon in some way. And well, I'll try not to do it too long this time. So So, yeah, I definitely had more on my mind. Yeah, so I am excited because there is a One Piece bundle at Popeyes, and I get to try the bundle. And the weird thing is, they forgot to give me my cupcake or whatever it's called, the chopper cupcake, but it's okay. I wanted the lemonade more anyway, and I gotta say, the gum gum fruit lemonade is exactly what I imagine a gum gum fruit to taste like. So I'm pretty happy about that. Oh, that's a that's something to have your in your ASMR type of thing. Oh God. Oh man. Actually put in my voice in AI, it was a mistake, but I have a feeling that's already starting to happen now. So I walked down the streets of where Sloan's no ice cream place, ice cream shop, Sloan's, and I went around in my very casual outfit of a black dress and pretty kicker kicks, some pretty sweet kicks, sandals. Oh, and by the way, thank you to whoever just decided to donate 3 pairs of Converse shoes. I mean, they're whoever it is has very awesome taste in shoes. However, they are a size men's 9, and therefore they do not fit me. And maybe about a few years ago, I would have fit. It would have been perfect. I would have put some big, giant, fluffy socks in it. But doing this little workout thing and just shedding off whatever I have is actually made my feet shrunk at least a size. So not exactly fun, but they're pretty. It was pretty nice to see. And so I walked down the streets in my mask. Cause I always worn masks like for as long for like I think whenever I could since I was like 15, I believe. So I walk around in the mask and I went to Cheesecake Factory and there's like pretty much one thing I like. One, because it's actually probably one of the best things you'll ever have. It's fried mac and cheese balls. Let's just say that. Man, that is just heaven in on a plate. So I went there. I could have had a cocktail, but decided to save that for another special occasion. I walked around and also went to Sloan's. And then I see something very interesting, a radio station. Yeah, it's not the first or only one, but it was very interesting to me. And then I realized as people were watching me, smiling at me, some waving at me, complimenting my mask, nah, things aren't the same for me. And I'd have to say there's a lot of things that's happened in the past year or two that it could be coincidences in my own hometown, which in I don't know how, but I think you'd have to really, really look to find all the places I've been, which are pretty awesome places. I still want to go back to that bakery that I went to. It's a bit far, but I think it's pretty worth it to go. So go there, see all this cool stuff that I found, and then seems like a lot of awesome things happened to me. And I gotta say, there's a lot of stuff that I can't really just draw as coincidences anymore. And it's really knowing what I know now, it actually changes my perspective on a lot of things. So basically, there's only a handful of people I'd actually trust now. So I guess what happens on my last day of normality that I cited as is that I guess I swear I keep telling it over and over again in all of these posts what happened, and basically I was a woman that was forced into a man's fight, and I won. And they'll never tell you this, but I was the one who cut ties with them. And again, they got very personal, and because they are very personal. There was a lot of personal things. Multiple of them did in the culture vultures, like clique or community, whatever. And then just imagining it, just I had to reach out to a space that literally existed for what struggled in my these thoughts I've always been dealing with. I told family and friends like almost 6 years ago about them. People reached out to me. People do check on me. I have to post at least once a day so people don't jump to the worst conclusion or assumption. And so I think what really did it is that knowing someone that I'd known and really like respect did say that that would be the coward's way out. So got it starting it to getting myself together in a serious way. And then there's I the last time where it just kind of made me snap out of that mindset for sure and start really working on it and meaning it. Even if I thought I did, I mean it more than ever now. Is that there's a video called Disillusionment that I did. Basically, it's the creator basically beating up the character that people know in the videos. And shortly after, and the whole idea was that, it would transition more into the, just basically what an online figure, I guess, would be, putting a little more of themselves out there. Shortly after, I see like people where we're in that mood, like not in the best mood, and so later they say something like, "Oh well, what kind of finale would be done based on disillusionment or something like that?" I don't remember, and then it kind of hit me like they for them they enjoyed it, but and they felt something about it, but it seems like based like if that was the finale and not exactly a continuation, it sounded like very clear to me they would have hated it. They would have hated that, and a lot of the gist I got was they didn't deserve all this terrible finale disillusionment, and you know what? Maybe that is true. Poor thing didn't, and in a way, I didn't either. So I'm not sure how we're gonna do this finale is gonna happen, or if it's ever gonna be like a new like arc or something, like a saga arc. But I will say that, truthfully told, I don't know. And sometimes, in a way, not everything can be done with this logic and numbers and algorithm and numbers and views and counts and likes and subscribes. Sometimes, well, a lot of times, or most of the time, I think that's what makes me like kind of stand out in a way compared to a lot of people about why I can be the manliest man the culture vulture has ever known. Is that, in a way, when there are humans involved, there needs to be a human element needed. Or, yeah, when you deal with human beings, there needs to be a humane element involved. And I think that gets lost in a lot of ways sometimes. And in a lot of ways, I think sometimes, and no. Considering that the who you're dealing with is a human being underneath is the best option, the choice to make, but can be the hardest one to do overall. And so, with a lot of things in mind, I feel like very soon there's gonna be a lot of changes happening, and I do deserve it. I deserve things to get better for me. And then, but also, having this better stuff happen can really change what can the whole, like, everything. Uh, and that's I went down those streets, those places I've been familiar with. It's just and just letting people enjoy my company as the person for as long as I can, for that normality. Because and what's gonna happen, I don't know. I can't tell you. And I just know that, and I I will say this. I'm definitely been doing better. I've definitely have been. I'm thinking, I do want to go while I still have the choice and the willpower, instead of like before where I would have been torn down and lost all hope and everything. I might as well, if everything, no matter what I say, no matter what I do, and no matter, and when I've tried everything and it's the inevitable and it's done better for me, why should I not let myself choose to not self-sabotage or be happy, right? And so, and with that in mind, it's just a way of knowing that I can one day just have those fond memories and remember what it was like to have any sense of normality at all. And then when I see someone else that's pretty much down hard on their luck, I can approach them and say to them, I remember when I was just like you. And there's so many things I can say. But after all, I guess that's not everything has to be meant for entertainment. And your entertainment is not their responsibility. Or in this case, you listening right now, watching, is not your responsibility. And since I always think as a viewer first, knowing what I would want as a creator, I also that to the viewer in me that always wanted something more. And I and just can just wow you whenever I can. So I put a big smile on my face, put all my hardships behind, and just hope it has been anything but boring. And I go by three main principles. First one is that you don't know what you want. You, me, or anyone. Two, respect their time. It's all that they have that's irreplaceable. And three, your quality is not their responsibility. So better make it the entertainment a hell of a time. And to summarize why all of this matters, these principles, and more of them should take in consideration, it is better to be a terrible entertainer than a terrible human. So, that was easy, right? Anyone can do a podcast, and I just did it again. So, I mean, so I hope this helps to cook, clean, exercise, shower. Hope it's been worth it for all that this podcast in some way. If you haven't done this yet, don't forget to pet your pet. So, that's been fun. Stay safe. And it has been anything but boring.